So you're in the market for a new vehicle, but you don't want to get taken for a ride? You're going to want to stick around for this episode because we all want to leave the lot without paying a lot. All right, grab your favorite mug. It's time for Coffee with Your Retirement Coach. Welcome back to Coffee with Your Retirement Coach. Today, behind the wheel, my travel companion, Nick Yeomans.
What's up, buddy?
I'm Aaron on this adventure, on this ride, if you will.
Well done.
Most of our audience, whether for need or for pleasure, is going to find themselves at some point ready to buy that next vehicle.
Yeah, today's episode, it's one I have had a lot of personal experience with, okay? And not just for me. I mean, I've bought many cars in my lifetime, but I've also helped a lot of clients and a lot of different people buy cars because, well, for various reasons. But the thing is, a lot of people don't know how to do it well and come out with that best deal.
Well, and you wrap that around the fact that this is a big purchase.
Yeah.
It's daunting. Chances are when you step onto the lot, there's features on this thing that you don't understand, you've never used before. Even sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes the sales associates can't even show you how everything on the car works. So you're in an environment where you're on edge. It's oftentimes a lot of money, a considerable amount of money, and you want to make sure that you're doing right. So when you add all that together, most people do not find this part enjoyable unless they fall in your camp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I actually enjoy shopping for the car.
Yeah.
I hate buying the car.
Right.
Two distinct things. I mean, I want to be able to, when I know the price, I know the deal, I want the vehicle I want. I want to go in and out in under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they make it like an all-day marathon that it doesn't have to be. So I'm not saying every dealership's like that. I'm just saying that there are a lot of dealerships that are still extremely old school, and it takes forever and ever and ever. I will say the last couple of buying experiences I had, I prefaced that I'm only buying this car if I'm going to be in and out within an hour. And I said, if I am 1 minute over, like I am gone. You need to understand, I'm showing up, we're buying it, and we're not negotiating anything else. I don't want any add-ons. I don't want any packages. If you bring up the packages, I'm gone.
Nick,
so I think setting clear expectations
that's what I was going to say.
Huge.
Until we started prepping for this episode, that was an expectation that just makes sense. I had never even considered. We've talked about several of these other things. I have used a lot of these moves and getting preparation kind of things. That's fantastic. Setting the expectation for how long this should take, it's a boss move. Now, speaking of moves, this is a lot like chess. There are a lot of strategic moves that need to go in the process of preparing and in the process of purchasing a vehicle. Can you kind of walk us through the outline of what we need to kind of have in our playbook?
Yeah, and I'll start with, so that our audience has a really good frame of where I'm coming from, why I do what I do. It's because, especially in the age group we work in, there are oftentimes a lot of single clients that have, maybe their husbands bought their car and now they find themselves, widowed or single, or, this is their first time really trying to buy a new car and they don't know how to navigate.
And the current state of the market with vehicles is a little different.
It's crazy. I mean, between the fluctuations from EV vehicles to tariff impacts. I mean, there's all kinds of considerations. Still the post-COVID world. I mean, the car world is very, very different today.
Yeah.
But here's where I'll land. In setting our preface for today. Had a client come in. She was at a local dealership, not more than maybe 5 or 6 miles from our office. Says, "Hey, Nick, I want to come by. I want to show you what I'm buying." They said I could take it out while they're finishing the paperwork, and I just want to come show you.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Absolutely, I can't wait." I said, "By the way, are you bringing in the deal you're getting?" "Oh, yeah, I've got all that paperwork with me." Great. So she comes by. It's a beautiful car. Mm-hmm. It's a CPO, certified pre-owned. It's a Lexus. It's 2 years old. And I'm thinking, it's a nice looking car.
Yeah.
Really nice. And she had two prior vehicles that were the identical model, and she had driven them about 7 to 10 years each.
Right.
Okay, so she's not trading in every 2 or 3 years, which is a horrible money move.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I look it over, and then I look at her deal, and I'm like, man, that seems pretty high. You know, I said, I tell you what, I'll call her Julie. Julie, can you hang out for a minute? Absolutely. They said it'd be probably another 30 minutes getting the paperwork together. They're busy today. I said, great. So I go back and I start doing some of the shopping, some of the very things we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
I looked at what that car had been selling for, the exact make, model, the same build.
Yeah.
And it was approximately between 10 and 13,000 less than what they're selling it to her for.
Wow.
So I said, Julie, who's your salesperson, et cetera? She gave me the business card. I called the gentleman up and I said, you know, I'm really, really not happy with this deal. I said, I'm so-and-so's financial planner. She showed me this deal. This is a horrible deal. Oh, it's a great deal. I said, you should be so ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
You are taking advantage of this lady. You are absolutely taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? I went through it. I talked to him about the last several deals. Within about a 10 to 12-minute phone call, she paid $11,000 less.
Yeah.
Literally out the door, $11,000 less.
Yeah.
And I said, man, this is really criminal what's happening right now. You are taking advantage of a lady that didn't even know to ask some of these questions.
Sure.
And so anyway, my heart in sharing this episode is I don't want people to be screwed.
Yeah.
I don't want people to be taken advantage of. I want them to get a good deal. Now, I believe in a company should make a profit. I think if they're giving a great value, a great service, if they're delivering a wonderful product, absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe in capitalism.
Yeah.
But to take advantage, especially of a certain age group or demographic, that's my problem.
100%.
Okay.
100%. And the other dealers that you were looking at for reference, they're making a profit. So obviously that was $10,000, $11,000 above what was already a profitable number.
Oh yeah, and it was multiple cars too.
So let's get a little more granular with this. Let's dig into the minutia. So the first thing you mentioned it, she was buying a certified pre-owned vehicle. Nick, the first choice that we have to make is: are we buying something new or are we buying something used?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say one of my favorite books in the entire world is a book that changed a lot of my life. It was The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and Mr. Danko. And it was a great, great book. It really gave you insights into what real life millionaires do with their money. And it's oftentimes not what we're seeing on TV and this glamour life and everything else. But it was interesting. The statistic said that the average millionaire had never, ever bought a brand new car before.
Right.
So we've got to start with this. Like, if the average millionaire's never bought a new car and you're not a millionaire, you probably shouldn't buy a new car.
Right.
Right? There's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
And so when we're trying to make a decision between new and used, we have to think about what's the purpose of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And how long we intend to drive that vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. Because depreciation really is the killer of your wealth when it comes to cars.
Sure.
It is extremely rare that a new car will actually appreciate. So, you know, the average American, they go and they take out a loan, which has interest on it, to buy an asset that immediately loses value.
Right.
So you're being charged on this side interest, and on this side, you're buying something that's guaranteed to lose value.
Correct.
You wouldn't do that with any other, like, you're not going to make that investment in the stock market. But for some reason, that's become normalized. So we have to come back to this understanding. Are we buying a car that we're going to keep for the next 7 to 10 years, which is historically the average break-even point to buy a brand new car?
Right.
Okay. I mean, I might be able to justify that. Or are we going to buy a car, maybe get a great value because we're buying it 2 or 3 years old with a great warranty on it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's certified pre-owned. And now we're getting that car for maybe a third of the value. Okay. If you sell that car in 4 or 5 years, okay, no problem. You've already burnt off a third of the depreciation when you bought it.
Right.
So So we've got to have that understanding before we go into the purchase mode.
Yeah.
Now, once we identify what we're buying, then we start using some different resources, okay? One of my favorite resources that I've used for, I don't know, probably close to a decade has been msn.com/autos, okay? And what I really like about that website is I can go in, select the make, the model, the year. I can, is it an LE? Is it an LT, LTZ? Well, whatever whatever it is. And then I can click on reliability ratings. And what's cool is you have the professionals that give their reviews of the car right there on that website, and you can see what their reviews of it are. But then you can also see what people who've owned that specific car, what their reviews of that car and what their ownership's been, because now it's coming from an owner and not just, the salesman, at the local dealership, right? Now, we do typically have a form of bias that we tend to justify things we do. We tend to justify things we own, we buy, etc. So there is obviously going to be some bias in those reviews from consumers.
Oh, yeah.
You have to read through that. And then the last one is I like the reliability part. So when you click on the reliability, you can oftentimes see, what is the reliability? Is it had a history after 2 years, the transmission goes out, the engine has an issue, what is it that tends to fail? As an example, there was a car I was looking at years ago, and it was the oddest thing, but there was a recall on it, etc. But it had to do with their car, the car tires wearing out fast. I was like, well, maybe it's just because they're the cheap dealership tire that you end up getting. Well, no. It's actually a problem with a drivetrain, and I don't remember all of the things about it except for the later models, the newer models, they fixed that issue, right? So I want to know what I'm going into when I am buying a car. And one of the dangers of buying a new vehicle is sometimes you don't know what that reliability is going to be.
Right.
Okay. But on the flip side, when you're getting a new vehicle or a certified pre-owned, you're getting a really handsome warranty typically that covers the powertrain, the drivetrain, all the stuff, but, also the insides. It makes you feel a little bit better when you do have that kind of warranty when you are buying new. But a lot of those warranties, they burn off after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Right.
And then what are you going to do? Are you going to get a new aftermarket warranty? You've got to think that through, especially if you're going to hold that car for 7 to 10 years, because that means you're going to have that car 3+ years with no more warranty.
Yeah. Well, and Nick, you brought up a good point. Like in a vehicle, if we're having to buy tires more frequently, that starts factoring into what we call as total cost. You want to kind of go into that a little bit. Like once we know, hey, this is a reliable vehicle, we like the things about it, features, we like the reliability. Not all vehicles, even from that standpoint, have the same total cost.
Yeah. Well, and one of my favorite things to do is if you have a relationship with a local auto shop, like I have one with 2 different auto shops, one closer to my house, one's a little closer to my office, and one primarily deals with European cars, and one is just about any make or model. Is before I'll make a purchase, I'll actually speak to them, or before I help a client even make a purchase, I'll simply say, hey, this particular car, how often do you see it? And when you do see it, what's a common problem?
Yeah.
Right? Because now I'm getting into the meat of, okay, it's got these particular issues. What's the cost to resolve these issues?
Yeah.
And that's getting more into what you're saying, the total cost of owning this car.
Yeah.
Well, if I find out that within about 3 or 4 years, this car has oil leaks.
Yeah.
Do I want to deal with that?
Yeah. So. Had an SUV that I bought years ago, and it was really funny because similar to what you talked about from the advice, it was a combination of speaking to a local Marietta service shop and a dealer here that we knew through church and everything. And the question was asked, do you care if it's green? And I was like, is that a car term? And they're like, no, the color green. Is that okay with you? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I care. And they're like, great, we're going to get this. And this vehicle, like you said, there was a transmission issue the year before that they had worked out, and then it became one of the most desirable on the market. Super reliable, great vehicle. But because of that, if you were to buy it in white, black, or red, everybody knew what they had. And so it had become very expensive. but you could get that same green vehicle because the interior was also green, and you could get it for about $1,500 less, which was right in Aaron's crosshairs. And I did not have pride when it came to the color of the vehicle. So yeah, it's such a valuable thing to get the insight from the known professionals.
Yeah. So then, I think the next best thing you can do, there's so many, I mean, the internet really has become this open market where you can really find out, dive deep and find out on different chat forums, etc., where they discuss the cars that you might be interested in buying, where you can, again, go in, this is a real life consumer. They've had this car. Here's the issues that they had, or they've had no issues. So I love that, that you can have that kind of access at your fingertips. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I typically Google is the particular make, the model, and all the features that I want.
Yes.
And then I'm going to put best out the door pricing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's important because, Nick, what you're talking about, we've got to realize that the same vehicle, make, model, everything can be the same, but the size of the engine, the type of transmission can vastly change what we're seeing in the way of performance over the long haul.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's also important for our audience to understand this term, and I cannot tell you how many people don't know what this is. Okay, but we need to know what this is.
Yeah.
Out the door. OTD. Oftentimes, it will show up on paperwork, or they'll scribble it down on, the salesman will give you OTD and they'll have a price on it. So out the door includes dealer fees, how they fee you to death with 13 different fees, taxes, so your dealer or your plate, your tag, whatever it is that your state or your local municipality might require. And so out the door pricing is what you want to pay attention to. Everyone wants to look at the sales price.
Yeah.
I think that's garbage. I rarely look at a sales price.
Right.
I think that is one of the worst places to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I have a price range I know I want to be in, then I'll pay attention to that. But I know what I'm after at the end of the day. And so I'm going to give a couple of quick tips that I've successfully used over time. Okay. And it doesn't work perfect.
Yeah.
But it's a good kind of rubber meets the road.
You wouldn't
like what I did there.
I do. We wouldn't go to an event, a concert, a sporting. In this day and age, we know the ticket price when we get to the cart and we go to check out, it's going to be different after the service fees get on there. And most oftentimes we're paying a very exorbitant amount to park. So if we're trying to go out so we're aware of that here. Why would we not take that same knowledge and apply it to something in the large size? Because the monthly payment, the sale price, can be very alluring, but out the door.
Yeah, and what do you think it's not advertised?
Right, exactly.
Well, it's because that's how many of these dealerships actually make a lot of money is you'll start negotiating on the sales price.
Yeah.
And so what do? All of a sudden you have a little higher fee here, a little higher fee here, a new fee you didn't know existed.
Right.
And, by the way, for our folks in the auto industry, I do want to say this. Many times they're getting a bad name. Okay, and it's unfortunate. There are some really great, honest, ethical, wonderful sales professionals in the auto industry that I respect. Many of them are friends of mine. And so a lot of the picking I'm doing today is when the general public has had an experience like I've had, like many of us have had, where we know maybe we did not get the best deal. Maybe we left feeling kind of icky about what we just did.
Yeah.
But I also want to acknowledge there are some really, really great automobile professionals out there trying to provide a great service and a great product. So that being said, one of the things that I want to do is acknowledge that the out-the-door price is what we're looking for, but a quick rule of thumb, if you've got just a few seconds and you want one big takeaway, what I typically do is I'll look at the sales price, like where is my target to try and negotiate a car, as an example,
right?
And I'll take the taxes that might be on that car. So let's say it's 6% or something like that. And I will subtract that off of the sales price. And that would be like my typical starting place to start negotiating that car.
Right. Now, before you go down that track, So we've got the out the door price. We know about maintenance. One thing we haven't touched on yet, but it's important, insurance. What is your insurance premiums going to be?
Yeah.
As we're factoring in total cost, it's important because we can be seduced by the idea of a good deal. We could see a monthly payment and say, hey, that's affordable, and we're looking the wrong way.
Well, and I love that because it's insurance. And my gosh, if you've got a teenage driver, especially a boy teenage driver, you pay attention to
it's
the
a
insurance.
Huge impact. It's a huge impact.
But here's the, you also got to pay attention to gas.
Yeah.
Right. And I've worked with, a client a couple of years ago where she really wanted this particular vehicle. Her friend had one.
Yep.
She loved riding in it. They had done some trips in it and just loved it. If only I had that car. If I had that car, oh my gosh. Right. So helped her find one, helped her negotiate one, got a screaming deal on it. It was really, really good.
Sure.
But here's the problem, Aaron.
I'm ready. I know what you're going to say.
She did not factor in how frequently she would be filling that car up because it was a V8.
Right.
She was coming from a 4-cylinder, I think it was a Toyota Camry, if I'm not mistaken. And so she had that really, really excellent mile per gallon out of that Camry.
Yeah.
Got this new car, which was also in the Toyota family with a V8. And she could not stomach her gas bill.
Right. If you lose your miles per gallon, you lose that fuel efficiency. If you work your way into a vehicle that requires a higher grade gasoline, or you move over into diesel and diesel's more expensive. If you're into something that requires more expensive, more costly oil changes, it's all part of that total cost. All right.
Well, no, I got it.
Okay.
No.
Do it.
Here's the other thing. Just like investment philosophy that we would use, buy low, sell high.
Yes.
People don't do that with cars. I'm going to give a real world example. Here's what I did, and people thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. I might be.
Move along.
But here's real life. Years ago, I had been eyeing. I really, and again, we're taking this way back, early 2000s. I was looking at the Hummers, the Hummer H2s. Okay, I thought they were really gnarly looking, very different looking, etc. But gas prices were through the roof.
Right.
That was shortly after the Toyota. What was that hybrid that first came out? The Toyota.
Was it the FJs? What were you looking at?
No. The Toyota, the hybrid cars.
Oh, like a Prius.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We got there. Okay. So the Toyota Prius, and here's the thing. When gas prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. The demand for Priuses also went through the roof because they were hybrids, right? And here in Metro Atlanta, the commute here is not friendly. Even back then was not friendly, okay? And so all of a sudden, above MSRP, people are paying premiums, super premiums to buy that car.
Right.
And people are paying like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 over MSRP.
Sure.
Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
I kind of went the other way.
But what was the trigger point?
So I went and found a Hummer H2 that was bright red, my favorite color.
Very red.
Done up nice.
Very red. We saw you coming from way down Bear Parkway.
And so, and it was a beautiful car.
Yeah.
It had been sitting on the lot for like 2 or 3 months. They had not sold this car.
Right.
Okay. And I went in one day and I asked them about it. Aaron, I got Christmas. I don't remember the exact number, but I know it was more than $12,000 I got off that car.
Right.
And they're like, basically, if I buy it today, right? And I said, well, and I'll get into this little tidbit later. I said, under one condition, that I've got 48 hours to have my own mechanic, look it over, even if it did have a warranty with it, but that's what I wanted.
Sure.
They agreed to it.
Yeah.
So here's what I started thinking.
Buy a lot of gas with $12,000.
I can buy a whole lot of gas with $12,000. So I bought the thing that nobody wanted.
Right.
I saved a fortune. And, I think that's the same thing when we invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, et cetera. That old concept, that methodology of buying something while it's cheap in anticipation when it comes back up, I'm going to own more of it. It's going to be more valuable.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting. That car maintained its value of what I paid for it for like the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't depreciate any more than what I had bought it for.
So we look at that total cost. It's the right fit for us.
Yeah.
It's not just a good sale. It's not just a monthly premium monthly payment that we can make. It is a great vehicle for us, and we've looked at the total cost. Now we go to the dealership to pull the trigger. What is your advice? What's the trajectory or approach on that? Give us some ideas of how we can successfully navigate the dealership.
Well, here's what I do. Okay, this is actually what I do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to find the exact car I want at 2 or 3 different dealerships.
Right.
I'm going to call and talk to the sales manager from each of these dealerships. I'm going to let them know very, very upfront that I am not coming in the dealership today.
Yeah.
I am shopping you and 1 or 2 others, and I want to know the best deal before I come in. I don't want to come in to do the deal. Well, sir, you need to drive or whatever. No, I've already driven the car. I know what I want because I've already driven it. I've already done the test drives, and I'm going to buy a car within the next day, and I'm either buying it from you or somebody else. And I mean, by the way, I'm not being forceful when I'm getting excited here on the podcast, but it's always a polite and respectful conversation. But I'm also extremely direct, and I'm setting correct expectations.
100%.
Because I don't want to have the conversation controlled by somebody else. I want to stay in control.
Yeah.
And so here's what I'm looking for. What is your best deal out
the door? Out the door. Right.
Okay. What is the best price you have? Well, sir, what is your payment you're looking for? I'm not interested in negotiating payments. Well, I just want to know how much you can afford a month. I don't care if I finance or pay cash.
Right.
What is the out the door price? Too many people make the mistake of negotiating on your monthly payment. That is one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the out the door price? And then I'm going to do the same thing with the next 2 dealerships.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask them, please let me know what this price is by the end of the day because I plan to buy that car tomorrow.
Right.
Okay. And so we'll have a couple of back and forths. And it's interesting. They make, sometimes they won't get back to you at all. They don't care. They don't trust that you actually will, whatever. But typically, if I'm talking to 3, at least 2 of them are getting back to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, here's what we can do on that car. Great. I'm going to compare it to what I researched online as the best deals that I saw.
You've gone to a Kelley Blue Book. You visited Edmunds, something like that.
Exact. Kelley Blue Book is, Edmunds, great resources to find out what a car could be worth.
Yep.
However, that doesn't tell what the actual sales of that car have been.
Yeah.
So that's why I do like going to Google and saying best deal of this make, model, etc. in this particular area code and seeing what pops up and people actually report what they actually bought the car for out the door.
Yes.
So I know what that target out the door price is. And then my, thought is I'm going to go in with a general thinking that whatever my taxes would be on that car, I better get at least about that much off the car, or I'm probably not going to do the deal.
Sure.
Okay. So let's say we agree upon a price before we even get to the dealership.
Yeah.
I'm going to set the expectations. When I get there, I'd like to meet with your most seasoned salesperson. Mm-hmm. I would like to do a test drive of that car. And while I'm doing that test drive, I'm hoping all the paperwork's together because I'm only going to spend an hour once I get there.
Yeah.
Well, sir, we can't do that. I said, well, give me a day and time that you can because I don't want to spend all the day there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything I could send you ahead of time to help you have all the paperwork ready? And then once I get there and I have all the paperwork ready, you typically go to the finance office because even if you're not financing, they take you back there anyway to complete the paperwork. And that's where they're going to try to sell you warranties on the tires, the rims, the paint job, extended warranties, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of different thoughts. You can go to a lot of consumer advocates out there who will walk you through the pros and cons of that. We're not going to do that this episode. 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, I'm saying no to most of that. But especially if it's a CPO. If it's a CPO or a new car, probably don't really need most of that stuff.
Right.
I can tell you one example where it was a super premium car and you definitely wanted the extra warranty on those tires. Those tires and rims were worth a fortune. So that made sense. So outside of that, I'm going in and I'm going to ignore most of the stuff that they're offering, and I'm going to make sure that that bottom line out the door number was what we agreed to.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, here's one other thing. Let's say you didn't do this. Let's say you didn't go via the phone call. You didn't You just showed up. You saw a car. It was the car you really wanted. And you said, you know what? I want that car. You know the car. You love the car. That's the car.
Okay.
You go in there. You try to start negotiating. Don't fall in love with the shine.
Yeah.
Fall in love with the deal.
That's important.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because if you go in there, we are so emotional about large purchases such as this that sometimes the logic side gets overridden a little bit.
Yeah.
And we don't get the best deal because what we can do is see ourselves leaving with that new car.
Absolutely.
So go into a dealership all the time, ready to walk away.
Yeah.
Now, my
and
wife,
if we're buying a vehicle, chances are we came out of a vehicle that seat of the newer vehicle is, of course, going to be plusher, and the air conditioner is probably going to be a little bit colder. It's an unfair advantage. It's almost like shopping in the grocery store when you're hungry. So, yes, falling in love with the shine, it's easy to do. Don't beat yourself up for it. Don't fall victim to it.
100%. Now, it is interesting how if I go into a dealership with my wife, Suzette, they don't realize, many times the sales folks will play it up to her and try to convince her and then prey on me thinking, hey, your wife
You're
would
a good
look
husband.
This, your wife would love driving this, blah, blah, blah. Literally, they don't know she's a stone-faced killer.
Absolutely.
Okay? And she is not the one that you want to play it up to because she would leave in a nanosecond if she didn't get the deal. So she is like, I can squeeze a lot of juice out of a grape, but my gosh, she can make that grape scream.
Yes.
And I love her for that.
Correct.
But that is typically, that's a common tactic that you oftentimes see, unfortunately, but it happens. So if you do shop with your spouse, it's important that you both go in with the understanding of what the deal is you're looking for and what you anticipate. Like if it is above X, you walk.
Yeah.
And now you've got accountability, and that is safety, okay? Yeah. But going in there without discussing what the purchase price, what is the most that you're willing to pay for that shiny object, that's dangerous. So, one of you might have certain feelings, the other one, and then you try to please each other, etc. Go in knowing what the bottom line number is, be willing to walk. Aaron, we were unfortunately in a place where we were selling or needing to sell one of our favorite cars ever, okay? And talk about never had a problem. It had oil changes, new tires, that's it. We had a Toyota 4Runner. That thing just went. It was awesome. It was such a great car, okay? But the problem with it, it's different with today's models, but again, this is way back in yesteryear. Okay. You couldn't fit 3 car seats across the back row, and we had 3 little ones.
Right.
Okay, so we needed to go to the minivan.
Yeah.
Well, we go in, we found a late model, so they had remade the new minivans. This is the first new car I had ever bought in my life. Here's the problem with used minivans. They're used. Okay.
Lots of crayons in the cup holders.
Trying, but we figure, you know what? We could have a 7 to 10 year minivan because of the age of our kids.
Yes.
We can do that.
Yes.
And this is last year's model.
Yeah.
And we're like 5-6 months into the new year's models.
Yes.
And there's only like 2 left of this old model.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the car we want, etc. And so we sit down. We know what the bottom line price is we're willing to pay. They're not willing to go there. So my very pregnant wife at the time and I, in summer, walk across the pavement, steam and heat, and I help her into the 4Runner, the passenger seat. I open my door and I see Buddy. He is running. He's hopping in. The sales guy, Buddy, man. He is running. He probably hadn't run like that since high school. Okay. He gets over there, says, Sir. I said, yeah, I'll do the deal. I said, well, man, it's too late. I already have my pregnant wife in the car. You should have done it back there. Sir, this is the best deal I've ever done in my career.
Right.
Please, we're telling you, will you do your deal? I'm like, but buddy, we're already going to the other deal. Like, it's too late.
Right.
He says, well, how can we make this happen? I said, we're going to throw in 6 oil changes and a car detail every month. How about that?
Yeah.
And they did it, Aaron.
And I will say, and Nick, that's where we want to land. A dealer incentive is not a bad thing as long as it doesn't affect the out the door price. And if it's something where you're on the fringe, that's fine. That's fine. But get it in writing.
Yeah, get it in writing, and I'll tell you this also, especially if you're buying a used car, even if it's a CPO, if you don't have a current, auto shop that you have taken cars to in the past, develop a relationship with one.
Yeah,
and I would have it in writing if you're doing a deal. It's best before you even close or agree to buy it.
Yeah.
That you want the car for 24 hours. You want the car for 48 hours, and to take it to a local auto shop you trust, a local mechanic you trust, have them do an inspection on the vehicle before you buy it.
Yeah.
But if you've already, or you're in the process of buying it, have them put an agreement that you have 24, 48 hours to, go back on the deal upon your own mechanic's evaluation of the car.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times that saved me and that saved clients, so highly recommend that.
Yeah. Or if you're buying from a private party, have them meet you at
the mechanic.
At the mechanic's office. Yeah, we're talking mostly about purchasing from a dealership or from a business, but those private party deals can be good as well. But even more important, you need to protect yourself. So, Nick, we've talked about knowing that out-the-door price, setting expectations for how long we want to be there, being able to walk, the confidence to say, hey, if I need to leave, I'm going to leave. If I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, the deal doesn't feel the same as when it was presented to me beforehand, or this is taking too long and it doesn't feel right, being willing to walk is important. And again, getting those appropriate inspections, the right kind of warranties. If it's included, great. If it's not, do the research online. Again, might do a further episode on that at some point, not today. But I think all of those things are really great. Getting not seduced by the shine. Make sure that we're looking at the deal. Anything else, especially an emotional thing that you'd want to kind of wrap this up with a bow if we're going in to make those purchases on the vehicles coming up soon?
Yeah, I think if you are looking to make this purchase, outside of, your retirement, your health, your home, this is going to be one of the biggest purchases in your life.
Yeah.
So, being really confident that you've met with your financial professionals and you got coaching as to the best way to purchase.
Yeah.
Some of these dealerships will do a little better deal if you finance. But I won't go in to buy a car unless I can pay cash.
Yeah.
Now, I still might choose to finance it because I was able to further negotiate another $2,000 of the out the door price,
right,
which is a very real thing I've done multiple times, by the way. Some dealers will say, well, we don't negotiate on that anymore. And that's where I retarget their dealership fees to get them to bring those down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so.
And with that, you would be looking for a loan where there is no prepayment penalty.
100%. So if I get a loan, it's very common for them to say, hey, would you agree to carry it for at least the next 3 months? You know what? Interest on a car payment for the next 3 months and then I pay it off? Absolutely. Especially if I just saved, $2,000, $3,000 on the out the door price. So be willing to negotiate from paying cash to also, getting it financed. But before you even do that, meet with your coach, meet with your retirement coach, meet with your financial professional.
Yeah.
Talk about the best way to make that purchase.
Right.
And
tax optimized, being mindful of how your investments are.
My gosh.
We had a client that did exactly what you're talking about, and it was somewhere between, I think, 3 to 6 months that they needed to actually make the payments and carry the loan. But what was great was we pulled half the money that they needed for the purchase of the vehicle in year 1. 6 months, we're in year 2, we pulled the other half, and we're able to spread the tax consequence over 2 years. So again, they were thrilled, and they didn't even think about that. But by sitting down with the financial planner, in our case, our firm, we just said, hey, it's all your money, but let's talk about which pocket we're pulling from.
Aaron, I've got one more quick example. This is a killer example, and this was a save the day moment. Okay, so brand new client to us. Okay, brand new. I noticed they had a really pretty new car sitting out, and they said, pay cash. That's awesome. I'm going through all their numbers. Where's the asset location? So, IRAs, non-IRAs, Roth, etc. So I'm looking bank account statements, etc. I said, so how'd you pay for the car? Just out of curiosity, you said you paid cash. Well, they took it out of their IRA.
Oh boy.
So this was like a $50,000 car.
Yeah.
nicest car they said they ever purchased, but it was their retirement car. Okay. So they bought this car, $50,000, and they actually ended up paying, it was like closer to $62,000 or $63,000 after taxes because of the IRA.
Right.
Okay.
How many times do we find out somebody's bumped themselves into a higher tax bracket, put them in a situation where they're going to be paying higher Medicare premiums because they got seduced by the shine?
Yeah. So here's what we did, Aaron.
Yeah.
I think you already know where I'm going.
But tell us, walk us
They
there.
were within 60 days.
Phenomenal.
And so you can do an indirect rollover, so where you take money out of an IRA and put it back into another IRA. You've got 60 days to do that.
Right.
They have money sitting in a money market account, close to $100,000. We took $62,000. I think it was $62,000. $62,000 out of that money market account, and we put it back in the IRA.
Yeah.
You know what they had? A $12,000 refund,
absolutely, of
those taxes when it came to April 15th the following year.
Yeah, you look like you should be wearing a cape, big red boots.
It was very heroic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, this is something that we know we're going to all find ourselves in at one place or another. Sometimes, again, it's the need, whether it's a minivan for a growing family, if it's just time. We're going to go to the dealership or to a private party and make a purchase of that new vehicle. We want you to be educated. We want you to be prepared. We want you to set expectations. And as we've done with other episodes, if you kind of would like a checklist, you're like, this is a lot of things, it was good things, email us at connect@yourretirementcoach.com. We'll send you that list to help you make sure that you can buy with confidence, not leave anything on the table. Be mindful of your favorite uncle, Uncle Sam. And drive with confidence. You being here means that you are seeking out wisdom, which makes you coachable. And in this process, don't lose your mind, don't lose your wits, don't lose your extra cash, and stay coachable. We hope you enjoyed today's show, but you may have questions for our coaches, and they can be emailed at connect@yourretirementcoach.com. If you know someone that needs to hear this episode, we encourage you to share it. As a reminder, the content of this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as advice. On behalf of our coaches, we want to thank you for listening and for being coachable.
Yeoman's Consulting Group, a registered investment advisor YouTube channel based in Marietta, Georgia. We strive to provide comprehensive wealth management services for every stage of the journey. This platform is solely for informational purposes and is not offering advisory services or sales of securities. Investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Comments by viewers or recognitions are no guarantee of future investment outcomes and do not ensure that a viewer will experience a higher level of performance or results. Public comments posted on this site are not selected, amended, deleted, or sorted in any way. If applicable, certain editing of personal, identifiable information and misinformation may be deleted. The opinions expressed herein are as of the date of publication and are subject to revision due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass.